It was evening, and Harper's Diner was buzzing with customers when suddenly the door swung open. Trouble walked in with loud laughter and the echo of screeching tires outside. Diamond, the arrogant son of a local millionaire, entered with his group of friends. His reputation was built on arrogance, reckless behavior, and humiliating others. But that night, he was about to cross a line that would shatter his pride forever. Diamond and his friends laughed obnoxiously, banging their fists on the table, disturbing the other customers. Just then, a pregnant waitress, Clara, approached their table with a soft smile. She held her small notepad in one hand and instinctively rested her other hand on her baby bump. Despite the fatigue from her long shifts, her voice was calm and polite. "What would you like to order?" she asked gently. Instead of answering with respect, Diamond leaned back in his chair and sneered. "A pregnant waitress? You can barely carry yourself. How can you carry our food?" The cruel words stung, but Clara stayed silent. She started writing their order. But before she could leave, Diamond shoved her arm. Her tray fell, plates shattered, and the diner went silent. He had just hit a pregnant woman. The room erupted. Customers gasped. Some pulled out their phones, others shouted in anger. But Diamond only laughed louder. "Do you people even know who my father is? No one can touch me. She's just a waitress." Clara held her stomach, her face pale but her voice steady as she whispered, "You don't know who my husband is." The words cut through the air like thunder. Everyone froze. Who was her husband? The diner went silent after the slap, as if time itself had frozen in disbelief. Customers stared in shock, some rising from their seats, but no one dared to intervene. The pregnant waitress steadied herself, holding her belly protectively, her eyes shimmering with pain. Diamond smirked arrogantly, clearly enjoying the power of humiliation. His friends laughed nervously, unsure if this was still fun or crossing a line. The old cook in the back clenched his fists but stopped, sensing something larger was at play. The young waitress didn't argue, didn't scream, and didn't shed a tear. Instead, she looked at him with a calmness that unsettled even his arrogant confidence. That silence spoke louder than any words, a silence heavy with hidden strength. Diamond leaned closer, whispering mockingly, "What can you even do? You're just a waitress." But those words would soon come back to haunt him. Whispers spread across the diner, someone muttering, "Doesn't she remind you of someone?" Another customer whispered urgently, "Wait! Isn't she the wife of—" The words caught like fire, but no one dared say the name too loudly. The girl slowly picked up the dropped notepad, her hand trembling slightly but her voice steady. She leaned toward Diamond and whispered just one sentence in his ear. His arrogant grin faded instantly, his face draining of all color. For the first time that night, Diamond was completely speechless. He staggered back, his friends looking at him in confusion. The truth cut sharper than the slap he had delivered. This woman was not just a waitress struggling for tips. She was the wife of a man Diamond feared more than anyone. A man whose name carried power, respect, and an unshakable reputation. Her husband was none other than the very billionaire who owned half the city. And in that moment the hunter realized he had just struck the lion's beloved. The diner remained frozen in stunned silence, yet slowly the weight of truth began to sink in. Diamond, once so arrogant and loud, stood trembling, stripped of all his false pride. The pregnant waitress, who had endured humiliation with grace, now radiated quiet strength. Her calmness was not weakness, but the courage of someone who carried love within her. She placed her hand over her stomach, whispering softly, "This child will grow up in dignity, not fear." Her words pierced the air, breaking the false power that Diamond once wielded. An elderly woman in the corner began to weep, moved by the strength of the young mother. A man stood up and muttered, "Respect isn't bought with money, it's earned through character." Slowly, the customers began nodding, voices rising in agreement like a chorus of truth. Diamond stumbled back toward the door, his bravado shattered into pieces. For the first time in his life, he realized money could not silence respect. The waitress didn't demand revenge, nor did she curse his name. Instead, she stood taller, her silence louder than his cruelty. Her strength reminded everyone that real power lies in patience and dignity. Even the cook, who had clenched his fists earlier, softened and wiped his eyes. The young mother walked back behind the counter, serving others as if nothing had happened. But her quiet resilience had already transformed the atmosphere of the entire diner. People who came for food left with something far more nourishing: hope. Hope that goodness still existed in a world filled with arrogance. Hope that love and respect would always outshine pride and wealth. Diamond's friends slipped away, ashamed, unable to defend him any longer. The waitress looked around at the customers and simply smiled. It was not the smile of someone defeated, but of someone victorious without a fight. Her lips carried a quiet message of strength and grace, silencing the room. Diamond's arrogance shrank in the presence of her unshakable spirit. She had faced humiliation, but chose not to retaliate with anger. Instead, she lifted her head higher, showing the dignity of a true heart. The silence in the diner became reverent, filled with awe, not fear. A pregnant waitress had conquered cruelty with grace and humility. Her victory was not loud, but written in her unbroken soul. Her unborn child was already a symbol of courage, born from strength, not fear. Each heartbeat within her whispered resilience and hope for tomorrow. Customers looked at her with admiration, seeing more than a waitress. They saw a mother shaping the world with quiet bravery. Every step reminded them that courage can be silent yet powerful. Even Diamond, with all his father's wealth, looked empty before her. Money could buy power, but it could never purchase respect. Those who witnessed this night would never forget her strength. She had proven dignity comes not from riches, but from the heart. Her pain turned into unshakable inspiration for everyone present. In that humble diner, greatness was revealed not in wealth, but in kindness, patience, and the courage of the human spirit.